In the middle of the galactic trade hub, the bustling spaceport of Zlok Prime was alive with activity. Merchants from every corner of the galaxy peddled their wares, and the air was thick with the chatter of countless languages. Kara, a young human adventurer with a knack for finding the extraordinary in the mundane, wandered through the maze of stalls and shops. Her curiosity led her down a narrow, dimly lit alley she hadn't noticed before. At the end of the alley, a small, run-down stall stood almost hidden. It was cluttered with cages and tanks, each containing an assortment of exotic creatures. Kara's eyes fell on a small, trembling creature confined to a rusty cage. Its large, sorrowful eyes met hers, and her heart immediately went out to it. "What's this?" she asked the stall's owner, an insectoid alien named Grix. His multiple eyes glistened with indifference as he glanced at the creature. "Just a worthless animal," Grix replied, his mandibles clicking with disdain. "No one wants it. Weak, useless. It won't survive long." Kara frowned. "How much?" Grix waved a dismissive hand. "Take it. It's not worth anything to me." Kara carefully opened the cage and gently lifted the small creature into her arms. It shivered, but she could feel its tiny heart beating rapidly against her chest. "Don't worry, little one. I'll take care of you," she murmured. She wrapped the creature in her jacket to keep it warm and made her way back through the bustling market to her ship, feeling a mix of anger and determination. She couldn't understand how anyone could be so callous toward such a helpless being. Back on the spaceship, the crew gathered in the common area to see what Kara had brought back. Mike, the ship's engineer, scratched his head, looking puzzled. "What is that thing?" "I don't know," Kara admitted, setting the creature down gently on a soft blanket. "But it was going to die if I left it there." Dr. LLA, the ship's medic, knelt beside the creature and began a thorough examination. She frowned as she noted its condition. "It's malnourished and dehydrated. We need to get it some food and water immediately." The creature, though weak, seemed to sense the kindness around it. It gazed up at LLA with wide, hopeful eyes. Mike rummaged through the ship's supplies, finding some nutrient paste and a small bowl of water. "Here," he said, handing them to LLA. "Will this work?" LLA nodded and carefully fed the creature, which eagerly lapped up the water and nibbled at the paste. As it ate, its tiny body visibly relaxed, and the trembling subsided. Kara watched with a mixture of relief and curiosity. "What do you think it is?" LLA shrugged. "Hard to say. I've never seen anything quite like it. But it's clearly intelligent and responsive. It understands we're trying to help." The crew decided to give the creature a name, and after a few suggestions, they settled on Zeke. As days turned into weeks, Zeke began to thrive under their care. He showed a remarkable ability to mimic sounds and seemed to understand complex commands, which only endeared him further to the crew. Captain JN, the ship's leader, observed Zeke one day as the creature flawlessly mimicked the sound of the ship's engines. "He's more than just a pet. He's intelligent," JN remarked, his tone filled with admiration. Kara smiled, stroking Zeke's soft fur. "I knew he was special." Zeke quickly adapted to life aboard the spaceship, much to the delight of the crew. The little creature explored every nook and cranny of the ship, his curiosity seeming to know no bounds. Kara often found him in unexpected places, from the engine room to the observation deck, always eager to learn and interact with his surroundings. One evening, as the crew gathered for dinner in the common area, Zeke sat on Kara's lap, his eyes wide and bright. The bond between them had grown strong, and he had become an integral part of their daily routines. "Did you see him today?" Mike asked, a grin spreading across his face. "He managed to open the maintenance hatch on his own. I swear he's getting smarter by the day." Captain JN chuckled. "He's certainly keeping us on our toes. I've never seen anything like it." Dr. LLA, always observant, added, "There's something about him that's different. He's not just smart, he's almost empathic. He seems to sense our moods and respond accordingly." Kara nodded, stroking Zeke's fur. "He's special, all right. I feel like he understands us more than we realize." As days turned into weeks, Zeke's unique abilities became more apparent. He could mimic sounds perfectly, from the hum of the ship's engines to the voices of the crew. This talent proved to be both entertaining and useful. One day, during a routine systems check, Mike accidentally dropped a tool into a tight space. "Great. Just what I needed," Mike muttered in frustration. Zeke, who had been watching nearby, chirped and scurried over. To everyone's amazement, he squeezed into the small space and retrieved the tool with ease. "Thanks, buddy," Mike said, patting Zeke on the head. "You just saved me a lot of trouble." Not everyone in the galaxy was as enamored with Zeke as the human crew. During a routine stop at the bustling space station of Gora 4, the crew encountered a group of hostile aliens known as the Kreth. The Kreth, a warlike species with a reputation for ruthlessness, immediately recognized Zeke's species and their potential. As the crew disembarked for supplies, Kara noticed a group of Kreth soldiers eyeing Zeke with intense interest. A chill ran down her spine as their leader, a tall, imposing figure with a scarred face, approached them. "That creature belongs to us," the Kreth leader hissed, pointing a gnarled finger at Zeke. "Hand it over." Captain JN stepped forward, his expression stern. "He's part of our crew now. He's not going anywhere." The Kreth leader sneered, his eyes narrowing. "You don't understand what you're dealing with, human. That creature is more than a pet. It has abilities that we need." JN stood his ground, the rest of the crew behind him. "He's one of us, and we protect our own." The tension in the air was palpable as the Kreth soldiers drew their weapons. A confrontation seemed inevitable, but the crew was prepared. They had faced danger before, and they were not about to back down now. The spaceport erupted into chaos as the Kreth launched their attack. Blaster fire rang out, and the crew fought back with everything they had. Sensing the danger, Zeke emitted a high-pitched sound that disrupted the Kreth's equipment, giving the crew a crucial advantage. "Fall back to the ship," JN ordered, covering their retreat. Kara clutched Zeke tightly as they ran, dodging blaster fire and debris. The crew managed to reach the ship and quickly took off, narrowly escaping the Kreth's clutches. Once they were safely in space, the crew gathered in the common area, catching their breath. Zeke nestled in Kara's arms, his eyes filled with fear and confusion. "Why were they after him?" Mike asked, his voice tinged with anger. Dr. LLA looked troubled. "There's more to Zeke than we realized. We need to find out what makes him so important to the Kreth." Captain JN nodded. "Agreed. But first, we need to make sure we're not followed. Set course for the outer rim, we need time to figure this out." Back on the ship, the crew gathered in the common area, determined to uncover the truth about Zeke. Dr. LLA had been tirelessly researching, using every resource at her disposal to learn more about their mysterious companion. Her face was grave as she called the crew together for a briefing. "I found something," Ella began, her tone serious. "Zeke's species isn't just any ordinary alien. They're called the Thren, and they were bioengineered long ago by an ancient civilization known as the Aeolian." Kara leaned forward, her eyes wide. "Bioengineered? For what?" LLA continued, "The Aeolians created the Thren to be peacekeepers. They have unique abilities that can influence emotions, and even control minds to some extent. The Kreth want to exploit these abilities for their own gain." Mike let out a low whistle. "So they're not just pets. They're powerful." Captain JN crossed his arms, his brow furrowed. If the Kreth get their hands on Zeke, they could use him to control entire populations. "We can't let that happen." Kara hugged Zeke protectively. "We have to keep him safe. He's not a weapon, he's family." Dr. LLA nodded in agreement. "We need to find a way to protect him, and, if possible, find others of his kind. The Thren deserve to live in peace, free from those who would exploit them." As the crew discussed their next steps, Zeke sat quietly, his large. Zeke's eyes were filled with understanding. He seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation. His usual playful demeanor was replaced with a somber resolve. The Kreth were relentless in their pursuit. Every time the crew thought they had evaded them, the Kreth would reappear, forcing the humans to stay constantly on the move. The tension on the ship was palpable, and the crew grew weary of the constant threat. One evening, as the ship traveled through a dense asteroid field, alarms blared, indicating an incoming threat. "The Kreth have found us again," Kara said, her stomach sinking. "They just don't give up, do they?" Mike muttered, taking his position at the controls. Captain JN barked orders. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We need to lose them in the asteroids. The ship weaved through the floating rocks, trying to shake off their pursuers. The Kreth ships were fast and agile, but the crew's knowledge of their vessel and the terrain gave them an edge. Zeke, sensing the danger, began emitting a series of high-pitched sounds that disrupted the Kreth's navigation systems. "What's he doing?" Kara asked, her eyes wide as she watched Zeke. Dr. LLA quickly analyzed the situation. "He's using his abilities to interfere with their sensors. It's giving us an advantage." Mike grinned. "Good job, Zeke. Keep it up." With Zeke's help, the crew managed to navigate the asteroid field, losing the Kreth ships in the process. Emerging on the other side, their ship was battered but still functional. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief. "That was too close," Captain JN said, wiping sweat from his brow. "We need a new plan. We can't keep running like this." Dr. LLA nodded. "We need to find a place where we can make a stand, somewhere the Kreth can't reach us easily. And we need to find out if there are others like Zeke. If we can, maybe we'll get some answers." Their journey took them to the remote and reclusive world of Dr. Varda, an enigmatic alien scientist known for her knowledge of ancient civilizations. Her base was hidden on a distant moon, shielded by advanced cloaking technology. As the ship landed, the crew felt a mixture of hope and apprehension. Dr. Varda was a tall, slender figure with elongated limbs and piercing, intelligent eyes. Her lab was filled with advanced equipment and artifacts from various civilizations. She greeted the crew with a nod, her expression one of curiosity. "You must be the humans with the Thren," Dr. Varda said, her voice smooth and analytical. "I've heard rumors." "Let me see him." Kara gently placed Zeke on the table. He looked up at Dr. Varda with a mixture of curiosity and weariness. The scientist examined him closely, her eyes widening as she noted his unique features. "Incredible," she murmured. "He's even more remarkable than I expected." The Thren were believed to be extinct. Captain JN stepped forward. "We need your help. The Kreth are after him, and they won't stop until they have him. We need to understand what makes him so special, and how we can protect him." Dr. Varda nodded thoughtfully. The Thren were created by the Aeolians to maintain peace through empathy and mind control. Their abilities are powerful, but require careful handling. If the Kreth get hold of him, they could use his powers for domination. Mike frowned. "So, how do we protect him?" Dr. Varda looked at Zeke, who was now mimicking the sound of her voice. "We need to enhance his natural abilities and find a way to shield him from the Kreth's detection. It will take time, but I believe I can help." As Dr. Varda worked on enhancing Zeke's abilities, the crew kept a watchful eye on their surroundings. They knew the Kreth wouldn't give up easily. Days turned into weeks, and under Dr. Varda's guidance, Zeke's powers grew stronger. He began demonstrating more control over his empathic abilities, even calming the crew during moments of stress. One night, as the crew gathered for a quiet dinner, an alarm blared. "They're here!" Mike shouted, rushing to the controls. Dr. Varda's eyes narrowed. "We're not ready yet. Zeke's enhancements aren't complete." Captain JN made a quick decision. "We need to hold them off long enough for Dr. Varda to finish. Everyone to your stations." The Kreth ships descended on the moon, their weapons firing relentlessly. The crew fought back with everything they had, but the Kreth's numbers were overwhelming. Inside the lab, Dr. Varda worked frantically, her hands moving swiftly over the controls as she completed the enhancements on Zeke. Kara stayed by Zeke's side, her heart pounding with fear and determination. "Hang in there, little guy. We're almost there." Outside, the battle raged on. The ship's shields were failing, and the crew was running out of options. Captain JN knew they needed to buy more time. "Mike, take the secondary turret and cover the north entrance. LLA, see if you can boost the shield output. We need every second we can get," JN ordered. As the crew followed his orders, Zeke began to glow faintly, a sign that Dr. Varda's enhancements were taking effect. The lab's lights flickered, and a low hum filled the air. Dr. Varda looked up, her eyes filled with urgency. "He's ready, but he needs to focus. Kara, he responds best to you. Help him concentrate." Kara nodded, kneeling beside Zeke. "You can do this, Zeke. Just focus on helping us. You're our only hope." Zeke looked at Kara, his eyes filled with understanding. He emitted a soft, calming sound, and the room pulsed with energy. Outside, the Kreth soldiers faltered, their movements slowing as if they were walking through thick air. "It's working!" Ele exclaimed, her eyes wide with amazement. "He's affecting them." The crew took advantage of the Kreth's confusion, launching a counterattack. The Kreth ships struggled to maintain their assault, their pilots disoriented by Zeke's influence. Dr. Varda activated a series of shields around the lab, creating a temporary safe zone. Captain JN's voice rang out over the comms. "We've got them on the ropes. Push forward." With renewed determination, the crew pressed their advantage. Zeke's powers, now fully enhanced, allowed them to turn the tide. Filled with regret. "I didn't want to betray you," she said, voice shaking. "But the CRE threatened my family. They said they'd kill them if I didn't help." Captain John's expression was unreadable, but his voice was cold. "You put all of us, including Zeke, in danger. Do you have any idea what you've done?" Tears welled up in Jenna's eyes. "I know. I didn't want to, but I thought I could feed them just enough information to keep my family safe without actually hurting any of you." She looked at Zeke, who gazed back at her with an unsettling mix of understanding and sadness. "I never wanted this." Mike stepped forward, fists clenched. "And now the CRE know where we are. We barely made it out last time." Dr. Varda studied Jenna carefully, then turned to Captain John. "She may have betrayed us, but she's also a potential asset. The CRE trusted her enough to communicate with her. We might be able to turn this situation around." John exhaled sharply, considering. "We don't have time for a trial or a debate. The CRE will be coming, and we need a plan." Jenna straightened, wiping her tears. "Let me fix this. Let me help you trap them." Silence hung in the air. Then Kara spoke, her voice soft but firm. "Zeke, what do you think?" Zeke, glowing faintly with the energy of his enhanced abilities, looked at Jenna for a long moment. Then he emitted a low, soothing hum, one of understanding, but also of warning. Captain John took that as his answer. "All right. Jenna, you're going to help us set a trap. But if you try anything, if you so much as hesitate—" "I won't," Jenna said firmly. "I promise." John nodded. "Then let's get to work. The CRE think they have the upper hand. Let's show them what happens when they underestimate humans." The crew dispersed, moving with a renewed sense of urgency. The war wasn't over, and the next battle was coming fast. But this time, they were ready. Captain John's voice was a mixture of anger and disappointment as he glared at Jenna. Downcast. "Why?" he demanded. Jenna exhaled shakily, her shoulders slumping. "The CRE approached me before I joined you. They promised me safety and wealth if I kept them informed. I didn't realize how dangerous they truly were, until it was too late." Kara's eyes flashed with fury. "You betrayed us. You put Zeke in danger for personal gain." Jenna's remorse was evident. "I'm sorry. I didn't think it would go this far. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right." Captain John exchanged a glance with Dr. Varda. There was no time to dwell on betrayal. "We need to find out exactly what she told them, and how much they know." Mike's voice was tense. "We also need to prepare for another attack. The CRE won't stop until they have Zeke." Jenna, eager to atone, provided everything she knew, details of her communications, the CRE strategies, their expectations. The crew worked tirelessly, reinforcing defenses and altering their plans to outmaneuver the enemy. Then, the ship shuddered violently as the CRE's weapons found them. The ultimate sacrifice. In the chaos, Jenna made her choice. She accessed the ship's communication array, fingers flying over the controls. "I've bought us some time," she said, her voice trembling. "I sent a false signal to lure them away from us. But they'll realize it's a trick soon." Captain John's expression was grim. "Then we need to get out of here. Mike, plot a course for the nearest safe zone." As the ship weaved through the battlefield's debris, Zeke sensed the danger closing in. He emitted a series of intricate sounds, his large, expressive eyes narrowing in focus. The crew watched in awe as the ship systems responded, defenses optimized, critical systems stabilized. But the CRE were relentless. They were closing in. Jenna knew there was only one way to ensure the crew's survival. She manually overrode the ship's controls, initiating a decoupling sequence. A section of the ship would detach, becoming a decoy. A target. "I'm sorry for everything," she whispered, sealing herself inside the decoupled section before anyone could stop her. "Jenna, no!" Kara cried out, pounding against the reinforced door. Jenna forced a small, sad smile. "This is the only way." The detached section launched into space. The CRE, thinking they had found their prize, diverted their attack. Kara watched the screen, tears streaking down her face. She didn't have to do that. Dr. Isla placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. She made her choice. Now we honor it by keeping Zeke safe. With the CRE temporarily misled, the ship made its escape, disappearing into the sanctuary of a hidden asteroid field. A new plan. In the quiet aftermath, Captain John gathered the crew in the common area. "We've taken a heavy hit, but we're still standing. We need to regroup, repair the ship, and find allies. We can't keep running forever." Dr. Varda studied the holographic star map. "There are other civilizations that would stand with us against the CRE, if they understood the stakes." Mike nodded. "And we need to enhance our defenses. They will come back, and next time, we need to be ready." Kara sat beside Zeke, gently touching his arm. "Can you help us again? We need your abilities to keep them at bay." Zeke emitted a soft, affirmative sound. His eyes reflected determination. The crew divided their efforts, Mike and Dr. Isla repairing the ship, Captain John and Dr. Varda seeking allies, and Kara training Zeke to better harness his abilities. During one of their sessions, something incredible happened. "Look at this!" Kara gasped. Zeke extended his hands, manipulating raw energy into a shimmering protective barrier. Dr. Varda's eyes widened. "This could change everything. If Zeke can shield us and disrupt their attacks, we might actually have a chance." Hope flickered among them. For the first time, they weren't just surviving. They were preparing to fight back.